It was my last week living in that apartment. A tiny studio on the 5th floor of a building that always smelled like dust and something faintly metallic, like blood on old keys. I was moving out because the rent had gone up, but honestly, I'd already been thinking of leaving long before that. There was this noise that started a few months earlier. A slow, deliberate tapping at the glass of my only window. Always between 2 and 3 in the morning. At first, I thought it was the pipes. Then, maybe birds. But birds don't tap with rhythm. Birds don't wait for silence before they start again. It would go quiet when I turned on the light, but if I just lay there, pretending to sleep, I'd hear it again tap. Tap, tap, tap. Always 3 times. Always followed by this faint exhale, like someone sighing against the glass. One night, I snapped. I rushed over and pulled the curtains open. No one. Just the pale reflection of my own face and the street lights below. But when I looked closer, I saw it. The reflection wasn't the match in me. My reflection's hand was still raised, as if frozen mid-tap, while mine was down by my side. I blinked, thinking maybe it was a trick of the light, but then my reflection slowly lowered its hand and smiled. I stumbled back, knocking over the lamp. The reflection didn't. It stayed standing, watching me. The light flickered once, and suddenly my window was pitch black, like the night outside had thickened into ink. I remember grabbing my phone and taking a picture to prove to myself I wasn't insane. The flash went off, a harsh white burst, and I saw it for a split second. Not a reflection. A man, a face on the other side of the glass, mouth open, pressed so hard against it that it distorted his features. He was smiling with teeth that didn't line up right, like they'd been placed by hand. I screamed and threw something. A mug, I think, and the window cracked down the center. I didn't sleep that night. I left at sunrise and never went back. Weeks later, after I'd moved, I got a call from the building manager. He said maintenance had been called for a window replacement issue in my old unit. When they removed the cracked glass, they found something embedded in the outer pane, a handprint, perfectly formed. From the outside, he asked if I wanted to see it before they disposed of it. Primera sa, Evie. No. But part of me wonders if I should have, because lately, I've started hearing it again. Tat, tat, tat. And my new apartment doesn't even have windows that open. I worked overnight as a janitor for a community college last year. It was usually peaceful, empty halls, the low hum of the vending machines, the squeak of my mop echoing back from the walls. But one night, during finals week, something changed. It started when I noticed the clock in the main corridor had stopped. Midnight, exactly. I checked my phone to 14 a.m. I didn't think much of it. Maybe the batteries died. I moved on to clean the east hallway, the long one that connected the art building to the gym. It was always dimly lit, with that sterile flicker from old fluorescent bulbs. But as I turned the corner, I felt this sudden drop in temperature. The air grew heavy, and there was this faint ringing in my ears, like pressure building before a storm. I mopped for a bit, before realizing something was wrong. The hallway never ended. No matter how far I walked, the double doors at the end just kept getting farther away. When I looked back, the doors I'd come through had vanished. I thought maybe I'd gotten turned around, but my mop bucket, bright yellow, was still next to me, sloshing faintly with every step. I started to panic. The air smelled faintly of burnt dust and copper. Then I saw a movement, a figure standing far down the hall. At first, I thought it was a student. I called out, but it didn't move. It was standing perfectly still. I tried walking closer, calling again, louder this time. The closer I got, the more I realized the proportions were wrong. Its legs were too long, arms hanging slightly past its knees. I turned and ran. My shoes squeaked across the tile, echoing in all directions. But when I looked over my shoulder, it was closer. Not running, just standing, but closer every time I looked back. I finally slammed into the exit door, shoved it open, and stumbled into the stairwell. My vision blurred, ears ringing so loud it felt like my head would split. The second I crossed through, the door slammed shut behind me. When I came back the next night, I avoided that hallway, but curiosity got the better of me around 3 a.m. I peeked around the corner, and there was my mop bucket, still there. Still dripping. The floor beneath it was bone dry. They tore that section of the building down a few months later for structural reasons. No one ever mentioned the missing janitor from 2 years before. His cart, they said, was found right where I'd left my bucket. In 2019, I was staying at a small roadside motel in Virginia after my car broke down during a cross-state trip. The place was almost empty, except for one old couple who ran it and a single other guest on the far end. I was given room 317. The first thing I noticed when I entered was the mirror. It covered almost the entire wall opposite the bed. Not decorative, not hotel clean. Just an enormous slab of old glass framed by worn brass. It had a faint dark tint to it, like the surface of standing water. That night, I tried to sleep, but something kept waking me. A soft scraping sound, like nails on glass. Primera turne dober, and the reflection of the room stared back. Everything looked normal, except for one thing. My reflection, his eyes were open. I sat up immediately, hard hammering, but in the glass, I was still lying down, eyes staring wide. Then, slowly, it sat up to one beat behind me. I scrambled for the light. The bulb flickered, and for an instant, I saw what was in the mirror. Not me. Something wearing my shape. Its mouth was too wide, stretching until it split open down the cheeks. It raised its hand and pressed it to the inside of the glass, and from my side, the mirror began to bulge inward. I ran to the door, but the knob wouldn't turn. The walls began to pulse faintly, like they were breathing. The air was thick with rot and static. When I looked back, the reflection was gone, replaced by a black void where the mirror should have been. Then came the whisper. Not from behind me, but from inside the mirror itself. Don't look away. I froze. The reflection flickered back, but now it wasn't my room. It showed the hallway outside, the motel clerk standing at the door. I could see him knocking. I could see me in bed again, eyes open. The real knock came a second later. I didn't move. The door creaked open, and the clerk's voice was quiet, shaking. Sir, you need to leave that room. I stumbled out, half-dressed, half-dazed. He refused to look inside, just looked it and muttered, "We don't rent that one out anymore. We don't even clean it." I never asked what he meant. But 2 months later, while scrolling through Reddit, I came across a thread titled, "Places You Should Never Stay." One of the comments mentioned that same motel in room 317. A man had died there in 2002, found sitting upright in bed, eyes wide open, facing a mirror that stretched from wall to wall. They said the mirror had been removed after that. But when I stayed there, it was still there. And every time I close my eyes now, I see my reflection blink a second too late.